Hello there, my little mathematicians. Today we're going to be working on the foldable comparing and ordering integers. It looks like this on one side and then that on the other. Okay, so if we go ahead and take a look at the first one, it says graph the numbers on the number line. So let's start with that first. So when they say graph them, all they want you to do is just draw a dot on the number line at 7. Now, not this 7 because that's a -7. I'm going to go to the +7. When there's no sign in front of a number, it's a positive. When there's a negative sign in front of it, it's a negative. So I'm going to draw a dot at -1, and then at +4, +9, -6, and 0. Now the next set of my directions says, then list them from least to greatest. And you can see how I underlined the word least once and the word greatest twice. That's just a visual for me to see small to big, which as you're taking a test, sometimes it helps it stand out. So when you're going from least to greatest, you want to start on this end of the number line and work your way towards the bigger numbers, okay? Because negatives are smaller than positives. So if you go from left to right, that's least to greatest. So I'm just going to draw or write out every number that I see on my number line. -6, -1, 0. I also drew a dot at 4 and 7, and finally 9. Now they're all in order from least to greatest. So it's helpful sometimes you draw a number line to then help you figure out if they're in the correct order or not. For number 2, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. If you want to ever pause the video, try the problem yourself, and then unpause it and come back to check yourself, go ahead and do so. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Draw a dot at -3, then draw a dot at -5, +2, 0, -6, and finally -8. Just to make sure I didn't miss any, I always like to count how many I started with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. Which one did I miss? Well, -3 has a dot, -5 has a dot, 2 has a dot. I missed that 8. So now I'm going to do a dot here. Okay, sometimes that happens. I kind of did it a little on purpose, but I wanted to point out that that's why it's always safe to make sure that you count how many numbers you started with and how many dots, just to double check that you didn't accidentally make too many or you didn't miss one. Okay, just a wise suggestion. Now the second thing says list from least to greatest. So again, start with -8, then -6, then -5, -3, 0, 2, and then finally 8. Okay, and then if you doubly wanted to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers, and that's how many you started with. Okay, number 3. Graph the numbers on the number line, same directions for the first part, so let's go ahead and do that. -5, -7, +2, +6, +9, -3, and a +3. Always double check, as we learned from our last problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here as well. So now I can list them from least to greatest, right? So I'm going to start here. Always read your directions because it says list them from greatest to least this time. So see how it's flopped? And if you're reading quickly, you might miss that. So that's again why I do that visual. Greatest, I put 2 lines. Least, I put 1 line just for the visual of big to small. Well, bigger numbers are on the right side and they get smaller as I move left towards the negatives. So this time when I go to list my numbers, I'm going to start with the 9, then the 6, then the 3, then the 2, then the -3, -5, and -7. And always do that double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We know there were 7 numbers that we started with. We're good. And then if you're really safe, you go back and double check the directions. Big to small. Yes, I went big to small. Okay, finally, again, if you want to try this one on your own, hit pause then unpause when you want to check yourself. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Draw a dot at 1, then 8, then -5, +4, -2, -6, and a -9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers again. And it's within the big to small, or greatest to least. So big to small. I'm going to start with the 8, then the 4, then the 1, -2, -5, -6, -9. Okay? That is if they want you to list them in a certain order of least to greatest. But other times they'll say, can you please compare these two numbers? And if they want you to compare them, you're going to use what's called an inequality sign. And that's either what's referred to as a is less than sign, or this one is a greater than sign. Okay, so it can be less than or greater than. This one, how I remember, kind of almost looks like an L, right? For L for less than, if I were to just tilt it a little. Or some people think of them as alligator mouths. The great big open end is always facing the bigger number. So when you read it right here, let's see. You want to have this is what in comparison to this? What's bigger, 10 or 3? Well, 10's bigger. So I want to say 10 is greater than 3. Okay, or some people say, like, you know, the great big open end, the alligator mouth, is eating the bigger number. Okay, if I go from left to right again, 0 is less than 7 or 0 greater than 7? It's less than, right? Or the alligator mouth, the great big open end, is facing the bigger number, the 7. What's bigger, -9 or 2? If you said 9, remember that positive numbers are always bigger than negative numbers, because you'd rather have money than owe money. Or if we go back to our number line, the further left we are, the smaller the number, right? It goes small to big. Okay, so smaller is here. All the negatives are smaller than any positives. Okay, or again, if you're just comparing two numbers, I always think, how much money would I have? Would I rather have positive amount of money or negative money? I'd rather be in the positive. So -9 is less than 2. Okay, what's bigger, a negative number or 0? 0 is actually bigger. So -8 is less than 0. Or have your open end facing the bigger number. Whichever way is easier for you to think about it. These are where it gets tricky, even for me, is when you're comparing two negative numbers. So what I always think is, okay, negative numbers are how much money you owe. Would I rather owe $4 or owe $13? I'd rather owe 4 than owe 13, right? Or again, look back to the number line. Is it the smaller the negative number or the bigger the negative number? Which one is actually larger? Well, the smaller the negative, the bigger in value that number actually is as you move this way, right? -9 is less than -2 or -1. Okay, they get bigger as they move this way. So how far is that number from 0? The further a negative is from 0, the smaller in value it actually is. So think of it as money. I'd rather have money, or like, I guess I'd rather be broken even, but I definitely don't want to be in debt. And the further in debt I go, the worse off that is. Okay, so final one, here's your last chance. Would you rather owe $5 or owe $9? And then which way should your sign face? Hopefully you said you'd rather owe $5, so you had the greater than sign, the great big open end, facing the 5, or if you read it left to right, -9 is less than -5. Okay, and so that is the end of our lesson for knowing how to both compare and order integers. So this is if we're putting them in order from least to greatest. Remember that little helpful hint of underlining 1's for least, 2 for greatest, just so that you can put them in the right order. And then if you're asked to compare it, they're just looking for you to put an inequality sign in between it. And then I don't know why they do this, but every once in a while, if they put like, let's say 4 and 4, and you'd be like, what? Like they're not, neither of them's bigger. Then put an equal sign between them. And the only reason they might do that is if maybe you're simplifying something down and you reduce it and it becomes 4 and the other one reduces to 4. Okay, they're both 4, so you'd put an equal sign. Even though that's not listed, that could happen as well. Okay? Once you're done with this, you're gonna go ahead and fold it. So you're gonna fold it to this dark center line. So I'm gonna take the right piece of paper and fold it to that dark center line. And then I'm gonna take the left side of my paper and fold it to that dark center line. Put a crease there. Now that you have this, flip it over to this side, put some glue on the back, and you're gonna glue it into your notebook so that it looks like this, and it's comparing and ordering integers. And then when you open it up, you can remember what was inequality again and quiz yourself what a less than sign versus a greater than sign is, and then see if you can still get these right. And then on the other side is you listing the orders from least to greatest. Congratulations, mathematicians. You mastered yet another concept.